Hi again, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for our webinar, The Benefits and Dirty Little Secret of Visual Selling. I'd like to get to introductions. My name is DJ Munzik. I'm your moderator today. I'm on the marketing team here at KBMax. Shortly, you're going to hear from Kevin Jackson, our VP of Sales. And in a little bit after him, we're going to see a quick technology demonstration by one of KBMax's best solution engineers, Tyler Beck. We're going to do a quick rundown of our agenda, and then I'll transition you over to Kevin. We are going to cover a quick overview of what visual configuration is and how it fits into a larger puzzle of e-commerce and the benefits of visualization as part of that e-commerce. Then we're going to talk about the dirty industry secret about advanced rules and how many won't show their rules engine, but we're going to kind of highlight some of the benefits of having a robust rules engine. Then we're going to go through that demo we talked about, and then again that Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kevin, who's going to walk you through an overview of visual configuration. Kevin?
Thanks, TJ. So this is Kevin Jackson, VP of Sales with KVMax, coming to you from beautiful Chicago, Illinois. Before we get started, I'll talk a little bit about product visualization for B2B commerce and even B2C commerce, because we as consumers bring back to the workplace a lot of the habits that we pick up while we're shopping on Amazon and other places. And whether it's 2D or 3D experiences, whether it's static images, exploded visuals, so we can actually identify parts that we need to fix on a machine or an accessory we're trying to buy for our phone, or even if it's dynamically configuring a product from scratch, whether it's building out the specific options and selections for a unique bulldozer, or even the unique logo on a baseball cap. We expect those 2D or 3D experiences to be something that's mobile or responsive. That means that we can see it on our phone, or we can see it on our iPad or our laptop. But the whole idea of visually updating product options and pricing and seeing those in real time, so that we get a what you see is what you buy experience. As a consumer, we want that immediate feedback, that interactive experience that helps us get into the buying experience, makes us feel confident that what the thing is that we're actually selecting is actually what's going to be delivered to our doorstep. And that translates into customers being able to be more confident in what they're ordering, making sure that the orders that show up are more accurate. And you as a company, it helps you sell more faster, because a lot of that fear and trepidation the customer has as to whether I'm actually going to get what I'm ordering or not kind of goes out the window, because that visual experience of buying becomes part of that purchase process. And the net result of this is companies are experiencing huge benefits in this area. So we see basically a 300% increase in the time that customers spend on a page. That's because they're interactively engaging with your products. They're picking the options and the features that specifically speak to them and their needs. And they're making the trade-offs between option A and option B. And they're seeing those pricing differences and deciding real time whether or not they want to have chrome or stainless or the different features that they want as part of that buying process. And because they're able to do that real time, we actually see a 40% increase in the conversion rate. So instead of just shopping, instead of just quotes that are going out the door, we actually see a 40% increase in the number of those that are actually turning into executable orders. Now, where that gets really exciting for the bottom line is those same customers that are doing that shopping experience, that are selecting their choices and making decisions on what they want, are actually increasing the average sales price. Because, for example, at Tough Shed, when they go in to buy a shed, they're looking for something to put their stuff in. Well, Tough Shed was innovative in actually thinking about, well, not only do I want to think about what my shed looks like, but customers are buying this to put stuff inside. So they actually allow you to actually put a lawnmower, to put bicycles, to put the number of boxes that you're trying to store in that storage space in there real time. And so in the process of doing so, customers are able to upsell themselves, and that can increase the average selling price of their products and yours as well. In fact, Tough Shed during the peak season probably has 10,000 plus customers a day actually shopping and configuring their sheds and getting them shipped out the door to you in your homes on a regular basis. So Tough Shed, Caterpillar, National Instruments, just to name a few of the folks that are actually using visual selling to reduce errors and returns and drive higher customer close rates. So DJ kicked us off talking about the dirty little secrets of visual selling. And the dirty little secret is that, the 10% of the information around what you show, prices, part numbers, lead times, marketing content, a A lot of that already exists, and it's easy to dump that to the web. In fact, that's kind of how B2B commerce and catalog websites started a long time ago. There's not a lot of science to that, and frankly, there's not a lot of value to it. Now, we talk about visual selling. The dirty little secret is that probably about 20% of the effort and the value is in actually creating an image or a 3D scene that you put that product in. The real value and the real opportunity for customers and for companies like yours is in that intelligence that you put into the system. It's the logic that drives what products customers see, where they're going to focus, what options are available, if those options have options, when you want to explode a view and show hotspots so that customers can drill into a specific product and see the things that differentiate you, whether that's a transmission on a bulldozer, electric drive on a car, or a new type of pumping technology. Your customers can actually see that and differentiate in real time and guide them through that process. And that comes from intelligence that just having a simple TV screen with one picture doesn't give you. You think about the intelligence being what gives you that interactive programming so you can actually see a story unfold as you're watching it. Now, the trick to this at KBMax is our little secret sauce. It's an advanced rules engine we call Snap, and our Snap technology allows us to handle the most complex product rules. In fact, we do engineering calculations, formula generation, wind loads, soil densities, all types of crazy things you wouldn't expect to see in a commerce experience. All the way down to the simplest things like selecting which logo to put on a baseball cap. We do that all with this simple drag and drop interface we call Snap. And as somebody that used to write programming logic, the beautiful thing about Snap is I can look at it today, I can look at it 5 years from now, I can pick up something that somebody else wrote and know exactly what's going on, which means that I can actually support that today and tomorrow and the future. And you don't have to call KBMax or a bunch of computer science majors to keep your machine up or your system up and running. So all the pricing logic, the quoting logic, the visualization, design automation, we drive that with a Snap engine. It means that you can simply maintain and optimize your solution today and in the future. And because Snap actually drives things all the way down to the manufacturing floor, not just providing a shopping experience, but as Tyler's going to show you, it actually drives that manufacturing experience. We can reduce errors not just in the order process, but in order fulfillment and actually in manufacturing. And we can actually tap into your back office system so that we can actually tell a customer not only what you're going to get, what it's going to cost, but when we can deliver it. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the ball over to Tyler, and he's actually going to show you some real world experiences of how KBMax works in real life. And I'm going to hand it over to him right now.
Good morning, everyone. Tyler Beck with KVMax, and I want to talk through, what does visualization mean to customers and to prospects? We see it mean a lot of different things, kind of across different industries and across, different companies. But also, after we kind of, look at some of the visualization needs that you might want to know about and want to capture, there's also that back end, that rules and logic that we've already talked about, how that's a significant portion of the real challenge that our customers are facing. So first thing I want to kind of mention is Zenith. They do team uniforms and helmets, and if you go out to their website, this is customer facing, and if you look at it, everyone thinks that 3D visualization is maybe the only real option out there, and that's not quite accurate. Some companies like Zenith wanted, a lightweight, simple 2D visualization. And what does that mean to have 2D or dynamic visualization? Well, in this case, you can see we're clicking through images. I'm not able to rotate this, but I am able to customize and configure this product, and I can even, configure these sub-components within the product, right? Where we're, modifying the mask, and we're able to select from different styles of face mask and have it regenerate this dynamic image. It's incredibly fast, it's lightweight, we're calculating price, able to share that out into social media, into an email link, able to capture this quote and, continue the sales process with their customers. But this is all using 2D visualization. So that's one style. And then, when you also want to look at maybe your customer doesn't really need to be able to see the product in a dynamic way. What they really care about is being able to filter through thousands of different products where we're using simple imagery to guide the user to finding the right standard product that they want to select. So in this case, we used our admin to build this Home Depot style, Amazon style, filter where we've got thousands of standard products that we can filter down really quickly, find what we care about, and then maybe launch from there, add that to a quote, or we want to guide the user in a guided selling way of here's the different product features and benefits. This is why you select one thing over another. And as they're clicking through, at some point, maybe we introduce that 2D or 3D visual, right? So it's not always an obvious use case to have a 3D visual. Sometimes 2D is more than adequate. Sometimes simple imagery is important. But the one thing that we keep seeing across all of our customers, even like what you might consider the simpler use cases, is they need to be able to have a logic for their products, right? So what does that mean? Like in this example where we've got a dryer line product that it has any number of configurable options. Once you start with the standard product line, you select the model that you need, and then you can further configure and define it, right? Whether it's gas or steam, but then, what processor do I want? I'm not sure, but then I have a voltage that's being selected based on my country use. If I want to override that, I still want rules to protect me from selecting the wrong use case or voltage case. And then as I add upgrades, I want to be guided and warned against adding something I shouldn't. It's telling me I need to upgrade to the nicest processor in order to upgrade these additional add-ons. You can see my pricing has continued to climb based on all these upgrades. And the point really here is just that this really isn't a visual, right? This is a spec sheet, but the important thing that's happening is we have the logic guiding the customer or the prospect to the right product line. So let's transition into talking about the fun part, which is 3D visualization. And ToughShed is an awesome example of this, where you start right from their website, and they're what's called an omni-channel, where they're selling out to consumers from their website in a browser-based tool. So KBMax is always, in a browser, which means it's, available on every device. So if I go look at ToughShed, here it is on an iPhone, works great on a tablet. All of that is able to show that visualization on all these devices to anyone. But then in the rest of their channel, they have internal salespeople logging in. They have a dealer network that I'll show you here in a little bit. That's a lot of business logic right out of the gate that matters, that just having visualization doesn't necessarily solve for me. So we'll unpack that here in a minute, but let's talk about the visuals. So ToughShed had a really nice 3D visual tool at one point, but it was limited in that they couldn't continue to add products to it, right? So the way to say it is it had no brains, right? So if you wanted to add more products in, that was painful. If you wanted it to do anything beyond just paint a pretty picture, that was the pain point. It didn't really do anything beyond letting the user configure something and maybe generating a generic quote. So let's look at the business logic of ToughShed and start to unpack that. So we're using WebGL for this 3D visual, and that's important in that we're not a slave or handcuffed to like CAD files, where some systems you're forced to basically generate all your visuals ahead of time. And what we're able to do with ToughShed in this case is, you can see I can change to a different product, it dynamically generates, but then if I change the size, it rescales and builds. We're not a slave to 1,000 different permutations or millions of permutations that we have to preload. We're able to stretch and regenerate this dynamically immediately in the visual. Okay, so that's part of the visualization. But going beyond that, there's all the rules that we care about with the visualization. And that's, again, talking to that admin and that snap rules on the back end of KBMax. So here's an example where if I drag a window in, that's great. It's letting me, drag in increments that make sense. But if I get too close to another product, it gives me that immediate visual, validation that that's not going to work. And then if I drag it towards the edge, it's going to limit me on how close I can get. Again, that's part of that validation that's happening. When I type in my zip code, they're immediately filtering based on the availability and the shipping constraints, the manufacturing restraints, the codes that go against, different state and county and, city restrictions and rules. So all of that business logic that has to come in based on just the zip code, right? When we look at pricing, this is the pricing that's based on their current pricing schedule, right? So they have maybe pricing corridors as well as even tiered pricing based on which dealer or distributor might be selling this particular product. They have a specific promo that's offered through the website to their customers. Okay, so what about placing objects? This was another challenge that ToughShed in particular wanted to solve for. Was they didn't want to think about things in just a 26 by 22, but instead they want people to be able to bring in their stuff, see how that all kind of works together, and then they naturally can upsell themselves, right? So if they are putting in their nice Lamborghini, they may want, extra room, they want this they want to be able to accommodate more than just the car, the vehicle, and some of their other things. So this, again, is talking to that business logic, allowing us to have click events in the visual, the ability to drag this, but also to put in boundaries and restrictions, as well as even scale these objects if we wanted to. If we wanted to dynamically generate a custom object in the garage, we can do that. With that rules engine paired with the visuals. Okay, so maybe you've noticed as we're clicking through, there is this price that's updating. So if we were to, let's clear out all these items and maybe downgrade. I'd like to do a garage, but let's talk about a kind of a cabin, right? So if I'm looking at purchasing this, you can see the price just dropped about $10,000, and we also have this bill of materials that is focused on kind of the sales end. So there's logic here that's showing different language more for selling, right? This is maybe where you can introduce things like a 50-year warranty or an unlimited lifetime guarantee or premium service offered. But right, as you kind of explore, look closer at this, you can see the paint's being calculated, for a unit price, but then where they're also doing it based on a quantity dependent that's calculated on that size of that product that we've configured to this point. Okay, so there's a lot of logic that we're seeing in ToughShed as we click through. When you look at the doors even, the door is specific to this product line. So I can do a residential door and I can maybe do a shed door and an overhead door. But if I were to switch to maybe like the nice upgraded office shed, they're not going to offer an overhead door. They're not going to offer all the same door options at this level. So again, there's all this filtering and logic that has to be done against all the permutations that can be configured. All right, so a big challenge that ToughShed had to face was during the entire sales process, there's a lot of documents that have to get generated, right? The visual's great, but how do we capture this not only as a lead, where this is maybe passed into a CRM or maybe to an ERP, to your different business systems, or to a marketing engine, but also being able to do a digital checkout. So those are two things that ToughShed wanted to be able to solve for, but also is creating these dynamic documents. So let's take a look at that. So if you submit your information, you're going to get this dynamically generated follow-up email. And the thing I think that they wanted to achieve was, thanks for your interest. This is what you had in mind with a bill of material and a price call out. But then also we're storing all of those configured options that the user picked. So if this is a year later and we're trying to touch that, prospect again and trying to get them interested in what they had configured a year ago, they can still bring up what they configured all that time ago, but it can also bring up that warning of, hey, you configured a door that we no longer sell, and you can guide them towards, why don't you pick this door instead? Or you make suggestions, would this door be acceptable as a replacement? Or guide them towards an upgrade, right? Have you considered our premium sliding door option, right? So that's all part of just that quick email touch that we're generating. Some other documents that are important is the ability just to see quick renders of what they had in mind, what they were configuring, along with maybe just the BOM and price. Going beyond that, what about kind of that quick check for the builder of, hey, when you show up tomorrow, this is what you're building. You're not building a green shed, you're building a red garage. Make sure that's what you show up, that's what you build. Then that full technical output, right, of the BOM, where we've got down to the nail and staple and screw, but also these cut list drawings that we're generating. So we're also creating manufacturing drawings for Tough Shed. So they expected this massive spike in sales, but the handoff to manufacturing was already a pain point, where if it was a napkin sketch going to them and they had to go dig through old drawings to try to build this, that was a huge bottleneck. And so that was something Tough Shed set out to solve with the logic and rules engine, is generating these cut lists based on the optimized stock, right? So for this lumber, pull this optimized, not a 14-footer, but a 12-footer, so we save money, and then make these cuts and these angled cuts, right? So we're building all of this manufacturing logic kind of on the back end here. When you look at just a few more things about Tough Shed, kind of as we're kind of wrapping up, this example, when you look closely, we're optimizing not only like how the lumber is being, designed based on their manufacturing constraints. We're putting in a window here, so we're dynamically generating where that lumber goes. But these dotted lines, that's the siding that has to get laid up. And that's one of the most expensive components that Tough Shed has to order for its buildings. So they want to optimize using the sheet and then reusing those leftover cuts that you're doing. So this is optimized to reduce waste and to be laid out in a very easy to follow format for that builder, so that they have less mistakes, less chargebacks, and Tough Shed just makes more money. Okay, so in kind of wrapping this up, we've talked about how Tough Shed and other companies are using visualization, and that can mean different things to different customers. That sometimes 2D is adequate and what's necessary. Sometimes simple images that just are populated based on selections can be adequate, can be what the customer really needs. Even down to this full 3D dynamic drag and drop experience. But the key ingredient is that this logic has to be there. The ability for us to be able to make the right selections, have a price calculated, have a BOM, but also feed that information, whether it be to your marketing system, to your CRM, to your ERP, and then what about CAD, right? Being able to then speak to your manufacturing tools and be able to save time with automation there as well. So I'm gonna transition into it's some time for Q&A. So thank you for joining us, and thanks for letting us discuss how Tough Shed's been able to revolutionize their business. But I want to pause there for any questions that we might have on the line.
Great, thanks, Tyler. Yeah, at this time, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them into the questions panel on GoTo. In the meantime, there are some next steps on screen you can take. We have a demo that we offer, so if you like the sound of Tyler's little presentation, please sign up for a demo, and what we'll do is reach out and make sure we're finding an example that's really relevant to your use case or your challenges. We have a new ROI calculator we launched recently, so that can really outline the benefit and the value of getting something like CPQ, especially KBMax in your organization. And of course, we have a lot of great resources on our resources page. So if you can do some further reading, look at demonstrations, things like that, we have those there. All right, so the first question I have, you did very quickly mention omni-channel, but the audience wants to know, can this be used by my distributors and inside sales reps in addition to customers? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so sorry, I didn't quite get time to get there. Tough Shed is actually using Home Depot as a dealer distributor. So if you go to the Home Depot website, you're able to punch out and do a configuration that's white labeled just for Home Depot with their own pricing and different price SKUs and products that are offered. But yeah, happy to talk about that even more in depth if you'd like to schedule a time.
Awesome, thanks. I have another audience question wanting to know how KBMax does this currently with a website. Is KBMax the website? I'm not exactly sure the question, but I think the response is, all of our marketing information and everything can be found at kbmax.com. If you're wondering about the platform of KBMax, yes, it exists in the cloud and you would be running it in a browser associated with the KBMax domain. So I'm not sure if that answered the question for you or not, Mia. But if you have a follow-up question, please feel free to reach out. And for anybody who wants to sign up for a demo or find us online, we do have our contact information there. You can initiate a chat. You'll actually be speaking with me. I'll be happy to put you in touch with somebody who can help you further. I think I have one last question here. Who typically manages the admin after the solution is implemented? Can non-programmers maintain it? So I think we did kind of talk about that, but we'll take 60 more seconds. Tyler, you just want to talk about Snap and how that administers the solution?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a point and click admin where you're able to set up fields and set up rules without any kind of coding, without any kind of complex logic. So you can like pictures like a website builder, for example, might be a good example where there's pre-built widgets and tools to make building out the admin much easier. And we have pre-built templates and things like that. But then Snap is where you can solve for those more challenging things, whether it's calculating the pressure drop across an HVAC system, the load or the torque that might be involved on one of your products that it's being installed, down to horsepower calculations for selecting the right motor. So that's where Snap comes in to solve those more complex problems, but in a declarative way that makes it easier for your product managers. You don't have to be a coder, a developer to be able to set up these rules.
Exactly, and just to draw a distinction, a lot of people in our space are using custom coding JavaScript and things, which is a doable scenario, but again, not easy to maintain and very risky because you don't know who wrote it and who's going to be there. So the last thing I'll say is a lot of companies will also steer clear of this discussion of how they maintain these rules. We charge right at it, right? So if you guys want to learn more and see a demo, we'll actually show you how the rules engine works because we're not afraid to show the power of our advanced CPQ rules. So, okay, so we've reached the end of the half hour. I really want to thank everybody for coming today. I especially want to thank our presenters, Kevin and Tyler, and I appreciate everybody's feedback and questions. Again, if you have anything you want to learn about KVMax, please reach out to us on the website, and we'll be happy to get you to the right place. So thanks again for everybody's time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless, be safe, and be healthy.